Seneca, On the Tranquility of the Mind. The Path to Inner Peace. Complete summary. Lucius Seneca, in his work On the Tranquility of the Mind, offers profound reflections on life and human desires, embodying the principles of Stoicism. Stoics focus on virtues and strive for inner peace, making Seneca's writings relevant even today. Today, we'll discuss how to approach material desires from the perspective of Stoic philosophy. Many of us seek material goods, the latest iPhone, a luxury car, or designer items, finding appeal in such desires. But does this suggest that the soul is, in fact, poor? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. There are two diametrically opposed views on money. Stoics often adopt an ascetic approach, while figures like Joe Dispenza and his followers believe that money reflects a connection to the universe and serves as a sign of well-being. Which side do you belong to? Do you see misfortune as a divine blessing, or do you prefer to shape your own reality by avoiding hardships? In one of his dialogues, a patient asks Seneca how to live with the vices that prevent him from feeling healthy. His emotional state wavered between vice and virtue, causing discomfort, as he feared falling into bad habits, which are far easier to develop than cultivating virtues. The patient reports that he prefers a modest lifestyle, simple clothes, and food that doesn't overwhelm his stomach. He enjoys the simplicity of things that serve their purpose, without drawing attention. However, the beauty and decoration of wealthy homes catch his eye and cause internal turmoil. This contradiction doesn't change his essence, but it disturbs his soul. Additionally, he is troubled by the desire to be at the center of things and hold high positions. Although he uses his achievements to help loved ones and society, after a tiring day, he seeks solitude, and his time becomes invaluable, as no one can take it from him without giving him proper compensation. When a person is alone with themselves, their soul can find a moment of true peace and self-improvement, a state in which attachment to the external world disappears. But as soon as they return to the philosophy, the desire to rejoin society surfaces, to help others, and at the same time, to feel important. Sometimes, this desire manifests itself in the urge to speak in front of people and be remembered by future generations, leaving a mark in their memories. But doesn't this hide a form of pride? Doesn't this desire pull us away from tranquility, making us afraid that we may only see the good in ourselves while ignoring our flaws? The tendency to think of ourselves as better than others grows stronger when we are surrounded by people who praise us and support our views. In such moments, the temptation to overestimate ourselves arises, balancing on the edge of our own ego. A man asks Seneca for help in understanding this inner conflict, which causes him to swing between good and evil. Although these fluctuations don't change his behavior, they cause anxiety and worry. Seneca responds that such fluctuations are natural and do not threaten the peace of the soul. People who reflect on these matters are, in fact, healthy but are frightened by the slightest signs of spiritual illness. Complete tranquility of the mind and the absence of turmoil are available only to the gods, but a person should strive for this state, where their soul is in harmony, undisturbed by either good or bad. Achieving tranquility means being confident in the correctness of your path, walking it without being distracted by what's happening around you or internal doubts. Seneca emphasizes that those whose fluctuations are stronger often give up something not by their own will but out of imitation or duty. Even more anxiety is found in those who live, following a once-chosen path, without the courage to change anything. These fluctuations are caused by excessive desires, fears, and unstable aspirations. Some are afraid to reach what they crave, others can't achieve it, and others waver because of their unpredictability, which inevitably leads to dissatisfaction with themselves. Seneca advises carefully examining the nature of these inner fluctuations and exploring all possible paths to tranquility. He encourages each of us to look within ourselves and see which vices are preventing the soul from achieving peace. Often, the cause of inner unrest is the fear of others' opinions. We give up our desires out of fear of what neighbors, parents, or friends will think. This fear of judgment from society often becomes more important to us than our true dreams and aspirations. True success is the ability to live according to your own truth, adhering to the values that bring out the best in you, regardless of societal pressure. It's the ability to do what is truly important to us, not for others. However, many avoid this path, fearing to realize the full depth of their own strength and greatness. If people could fully grasp their inner power, they would likely admire themselves. Often, dissatisfaction, anxiety, and gloom torment the souls of those who are naturally active and need self-expression but artificially limit themselves by avoiding the outside world. These suppressed urges lead to suffering and envy toward those who, unlike them, have found fulfillment and happiness in their endeavors. When a person encounters someone else's success without having their own, their soul is in painful turmoil, experiencing suffering like an unquenchable desire. Harmful attachments and destructive habits seize a person just like an illness. Much like a person with scabies who feels momentary relief from scratching, but in doing so worsens their wounds, we sometimes find pleasure in things that cause us pain. Instability and dissatisfaction with oneself show up when a person cannot remain satisfied with one thing for long and constantly seeks change. This is why people rush into chaotic journeys, constantly putting themselves to the test, on the sea or on land, trying to find something new. Athenodorus of Canotha, a Stoic philosopher, speaks of this as fleeing from oneself, pointing out that no change of place will rid us of inner unrest if its source lies within us. Ultimately, it's not the faults of the places we leave or go to, but our own. We are unable to tolerate either hardship, pleasure, ourselves, or others for long. Even in the midst of joy, there sometimes arises the thought, how long will this last? Just as an athlete dedicates all their time to training outdoors in the sun, a person who decides to dedicate their life to a public cause should be at the center of things, participating in society's life and striving to bring value to it. Everyone chooses for themselves how they can be helpful, whether it's a soldier defending the country or a person safeguarding the values of society. Both provide essential benefits, despite the different roles and levels of danger involved. Therefore, instead of isolating yourself, especially if your soul longs for activity, it's better to dedicate yourself to a cause. Act. That's the first and most important step. This way, you won't be a burden to yourself or others, you'll become valuable to society, and you'll make many friends. People are always drawn to those who do good, because the benefactor stands out, and those who can appreciate it will be attracted to them. On the contrary, if you refuse to interact with people and choose solitude, your contribution to society will disappear, and this will destroy what you were striving for. The time nature has given you can be spent wisely and carefully, or carelessly. Be among those who make the first choice. Seneca notes that even if fate limits your actions, it's not a reason to turn away from it or run defenseless. In any situation, there is room for action where you can prove yourself. Even if the path to the legal system or the speaking profession is closed, there's always a chance to offer advice to a loyal friend or inspire a companion. Remember, the whole world is open to you, and you have the opportunity to improve the lives of many people, even if circumstances limit your influence. You will always have more than what is taken from you. If you haven't been able to get the position you desire, it's not a reason to be inactive. You can still be of value in any position, regardless of the circumstances. Even if you physically can't participate in battle, you can support your comrades with words and by example. And if fate removes you from public affairs, continue to support those around you, even if you must do so in silence. Preserving yourself doesn't mean abandoning yourself to oblivion. You must know when to step away from affairs, not wait for them to free you. First and foremost, you need to understand yourself, then the tasks you plan to take on, and finally, the people you are doing it for and with. It's important to remember that if something goes against your nature, efforts will be in vain. We often make mistakes by overestimating our abilities, thinking we're capable of more than we really are. Therefore, for those who cannot control themselves and tend to overestimate their abilities, rest can often be more beneficial than exhausting activity. Unrestrained people who cannot govern themselves should beware of anything that could lead to destructive freedom, threatening their well-being. Additionally, it's crucial to carefully assess the tasks you take on. The strength of the person assuming responsibility should exceed the task itself. Avoid tasks that lead to new, endless obligations. Take on what you can finish, or at least what you can reasonably hope to complete. Don't take on what is beyond your strength. And, of course, you must understand the people for whom you are willing to dedicate part of your life. Are they worthy of that time? Does your involvement benefit them, or will they take advantage of you? True friendship is a great value. A person whose words comfort you, whose joy brings you joy, whose honesty is beyond doubt. It's important to choose friends free from vices, as bad habits can pass from one person to another like a disease. Just as you should avoid a sick person to not catch their illness, you should avoid corrupt individuals. Don't rely solely on the advice of one wise person, as it may take a long time to find such a person, and you may end up finding only the least worst instead of the best. A true wise person needs not only followers ready to approve of their words, but also those who have experienced life's difficulties, so they can help them with their strength. Avoid gloomy and despairing people, those who always find something to complain about, even if they are honest and free of vices. Seneca reflects on money as a source of many woes, claiming it causes more suffering than illness, loss, or even death. He observes that deprivation causes more pain than the lack of something itself. The less wealth a person has, the less they suffer from the fear of losing it. A poor person experiences less bitterness because they have less to worry about losing. Seneca emphasizes that it is a mistake to think that the wealthy are less vulnerable to loss. Just as physical pain is felt equally by the weak and the strong, the loss of money causes pain for everyone. The poor and the rich both feel it as if part of their heart has been ripped away. Therefore, the truly fortunate are those who have always been deprived by fate, rather than those who were gifted by it and then abandoned. Diogenes was invulnerable to loss because he had nothing. In this way, he resembled the gods, who, having nothing, still shaped the fates of men. Happy is the person who owes nothing to anyone except what they can easily deny themselves. But since not everyone has such fortitude, Seneca advises limiting one's money so that dependence on fate is minimal. In his view, ideal wealth is that which does not lead to poverty, but is not too far removed from it either. Even poverty can seem like wealth if one practices moderation. Evaluate things based on their practical utility, avoid excessive luxury. Let food satisfy hunger, drink quench thirst, and let desires stay within reasonable limits. Learn to tame your vanity and find wealth within yourself, rather than seeking it from fickle fate. When the soul does not heed guidance, small misfortunes may turn into more serious ones, becoming the kinds of trials it can no longer ignore. It's better to have a few wise books that become your true mentors than shelves full of books whose titles you barely have time to read. In any way of life, you can find peace, joy, and satisfaction. Even a harsh nature can become tolerant if it becomes a habit. Sufferings from subsequent blows of fate are always easier than the first ones. We are all tied to fate, but each of us has our own chain. For some, it is golden and free. For others, tight and rough. But isn't it all the same? Everyone bears a burden. Some are bound by poverty, others by wealth, some by the power of others, others by their own. All life, to some extent, is slavery. So it is better to accept your position and complain about it less. A wise approach to one's difficulties can soften even the harshest blows and make them less overwhelming. One should aim for what is achievable, what lies near our hopes, rather than the unattainable. Do not envy those higher on the ladder. What seems elevated may turn out to be a pit. A person with power often finds themselves a prisoner of it. Therefore, if they want to ease their position, it is better for them to limit their influence and make it less burdensome. All of these reflections are suited to the ordinary person, but not to the sage. The sage meets their fate without fear or hesitation, knowing that they have nothing to lose. They live as though everything they possess is only temporarily given to them, ready to return it at any moment, possessions, titles, and even their body. The fear of death, as Seneca says, often brings it closer. Those who fear death will never be truly courageous. By anticipating all possible misfortunes, as if they must inevitably happen, a person softens the blow of fate if misfortunes do come. Misfortunes strike hardest only those who foolishly hope for a trouble-free future. Understanding that everything is fleeting and that what happens to others can happen to us helps maintain a balanced view of life. Seneca emphasizes the importance of avoiding unnecessary work and futile tasks, not wasting energy on things that don't matter. Those who want to live peacefully should moderate their activities, not getting overly involved in personal or public matters. One should be flexible and not cling too tightly to a particular routine so that changes in plans or circumstances don't cause anxiety. In all situations, the soul must find support within itself, enjoy its own company, and not feel losses, even when facing adversity with patience. It is always better to show forbearance, as it is wiser to laugh at misfortune than to give in to despair. Those who laugh where others give in to sorrow do humanity a great service. The former hold on to hope for something better, while the latter, in despair, decide that nothing can be fixed. Laughter in the face of hardship is a sign of a stronger spirit than tears shed at every little thing. However, it is better to approach the faults of others calmly, without resorting to laughter or tears. Suffering because of others' misfortunes condemns one to eternal unhappiness. Rejoicing in their suffering is an inhuman display. One should express sorrow only as much as is natural, not as much as habits and expectations dictate. Many people shed tears for show, but as soon as the audience disappears, their eyes dry up. Dependence on the opinions of others is a great evil, and it has taken root so deeply that even natural feelings, like grief, have become acts of pretense. It must be acknowledged that often worthy people meet a sad end. Seeing those who deserve better suffer, what can we hope for ourselves? Nevertheless, these people have gained immortality by finishing their journey with dignity. A life devoid of naturalness and built on pretense brings no joy. Constant attempts to meet expectations drain us, and the fear of deviating from accepted norms creates anxiety. We become so concerned with how we are perceived that we lose our inner peace. By hiding the true self behind a mask, a person loses serenity and authentic happiness. Sincerity, simplicity, and a life without pretense bring joy and free one from tension. However, even such a life, if a person is open and honest before everyone, is subject to criticism and risk. It is better to be criticized for simplicity than to suffer under the weight of constant pretense. Yet, it is important to strike a balance. It is crucial to distinguish whether you live simply or recklessly. Sometimes solitude is necessary, but alternating between socializing and solitude is more beneficial. Isolation sparks a desire for people, while socializing brings you back to yourself, and one state can serve as a remedy for the other. You can't keep the soul in constant tension. It needs rest for its vitality and health. Ancient philosophers, for example, allowed themselves to dance, meet with friends, take walks, and reflect. The soul requires rest, but excessive indulgence in entertainment robs it of its strength. Moderation is the key to everything. You can set aside days or hours each week for fun, or include small breaks every day. Sometimes, it's important to stimulate the soul to joy and release, allowing it to briefly escape from strict restraint. Only an elevated spirit, one that has risen above the ordinary, can say something meaningful and majestic, filled with sacred inspiration. So, following Seneca's advice, we must aim for simplicity in life, avoid dependency on the opinions of others, and not indulge in excessive pretense. The alternation of socializing and solitude, as well as the importance of rest and entertainment, are highlighted as essential elements for maintaining mental health and strength. True joy comes from sincerity, realizing your worth, and being ready to embrace life in all its fullness. If you want to continue growing and find inspiration in the world of literature, subscribe to my book summary channel. Here, you'll find many useful ideas and practical tips for personal and professional growth. Your support means a lot to me.